for what is truly a wonderful partnership to help children in the state, children of largely victims. We're a #1 pro-kid state, as I've said, up and down this state, and that's never going to change. As a brief reminder, it's been several years since Jared Brideigan, Kirsten's husband, was murdered on the side of the road after pulling off the road. In the back seat was their 2-year-old daughter, Bexley, who I've just learned is now 6. Thank you for being here. And so she's taken to the law enforcement office. And for kids, that can be such a scary and intimidating place. But you and I here in this room, we know that there's nobody that loves and cares for little kids more than our great sheriff's deputies and police officers. So Kirsten had the great idea, even in a moment of real stress where it would have been easy to, tie yourself up in a ball and get lost in grief. I probably would have been so weak that would have happened to me, but she decided to turn to strength and do something very productive. She realized that these law enforcement offices that can be so intimidating, they don't have child-friendly toys and books and essentially a kit, so that when kids come in, there's something that's going to make them feel warm and welcomed and give them an opportunity to distract themselves from whatever terrors or dangerous situation that they may have just witnessed or been a part of. So Kirsten set forward to create the Bexley boxes, which you can see here, and get them to law enforcement offices, not only in Florida, but across the country. And so a year ago, I think she'd had a couple dozen that had been deployed. She's now up in the 60s. And I told her, by the end of the year, we got to find a way to get these into police offices, sheriff's offices across the state. We can't have any state that's failing to have these Bexley boxes on hand. We had a little ingenuity and reached out to our great partner, Walmart. Walmart's been an outstanding friend to the state, combating the opioid crisis, standing by law enforcement, standing by veterans, and I had no doubt that they would step up in a big way. Little did I know that they would offer to just handle everything in Florida themselves. So we're honored to be joined by Walmart, Abby from Walmart here today, who will speak. They are going to assemble these boxes that are very intentionally designed and get them to every single office. The Florida Highway Patrol has also offered, where necessary, to help deliver these to the appropriate law enforcement office. So this is a great story to come out of a very tragic situation. I think it's a lesson here for all of us that when we endure pain and grief and sadness, there's always a way to turn that into a miracle, into something positive. And no doubt, with the partnership of our great sheriff's offices, especially St. Johns County in this case, we find a way to turn a sad thing into a very positive result. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I will turn it over now, and I will let Sheriff Hardwick say a few words.
Thank you, AG. Appreciate you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. AG, thank you for your steadfast commitment to not just the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. As I'm sure my brother, Sheriff Lima, our FSA president, will tell you, it's a special thing we have going on here in Florida, sir, and it's because of you and your leadership position. This is one of those things, where we're in the office, of course, and another tragic incident occurs. It hits home right here, just outside of St. Johns County and Duval County, and Kirsten, at the time, was living, of course, in our county. In February of 2022, it changed not just her life, but the life of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, too, as well. Because she lived in our county again, and we stepped up, and under the leadership of Commander George Harrigan, we got involved in her life to protect and to serve her, too, as they went through this horrific incident where a 2-year-old baby, a child by the name of Bexley, was a witness to a horrific incident, which, of course, was a murder. With that being said, we had some conversations, and Kirsten's in our office, and she said she's building these Bexley boxes. And she educated me, and I've been a detective for a long time before I became the chief of police, and now you're sheriff, and I said, we're missing it. And we had a victim of a horrific incident who lost her husband, and this is what she identified. We were missing something in a local police station saying, do you have this? And she actually called us out. And everything she asked us, we said, we don't have that. I don't think we have that either. We don't have that either. I said, so what are you doing? She said, I'm doing a Bexley box, and I want to do it free of charge. I want to donate to every law enforcement agency, all 67 sheriff's office, all 300 police departments across the state of Florida. We're going to go national. I said, how are you funding this? I'm not. I'm doing it through donations. I don't know how we're going to fund it, but we're going to figure this out. Our staff, bought into this product with her. How could you not when you see beautiful Bexley hanging around with our detectives and our deputy sheriffs in our office, and they kind of adopted us as their family. And then the AG and I, through our friendship and our partnership, he happens to be in my office for another press conference. I enlightened him of what's going on, and he said, I'm all in. I want to meet this lady, Kirsten. And Kirsten was there, and he met her. And he said, I'm all in. We're going to make this happen. And then our phenomenal partnership with Walmart, it goes a lot deeper than just what we're currently doing in the great state of Florida with Walmart. This has gone on forever, for years, including our loss prevention techniques that we're using now that do not waste our law enforcement officers' time by having that partnership where they can do some of the paperwork for us. So it's much deeper than that. But as you sit here today, I challenge you, sheriffs in St. Johns County, every single one of you should have a Bexley box in your station. This is a partnership with Kirsten, with the Brideigan Foundation. This is a partnership with our AG, who is phenomenal. But just as important, it's in partnership with Walmart, who always has our backs, of course, in the great state of Florida. So I just simply tell you this, step up, let's do the right thing. We have a great partnership with Walmart. You're going to hear about it today. And be a part of making the change, making the difference, and making these victims that come into your stations feel welcome, and taking that pressure off that mother that might have just lost her husband in a brutal murder, where that child can be taken care of by our victim advocates and our detectives. So again, a pleasure and honor I speak here today on behalf of our sheriffs. And again, Kirsten, it was unfortunately with a horrific incident. We were meant to be together, all of us, and you're doing great things. And I see beautiful Bexley sitting back there with one of my canine detectives, or canine officers, Stephanie Stuart. We got a special thing because of this horrific incident. So thank you, AG, and I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have Sheriff Lima. He's the current president of the Florida Sheriff's Association, and has also just done an outstanding job leading our sheriffs, who are the best law enforcement officers in the entire country. So thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you so much, General. And first and foremost, I want to thank Kirsten and the Brideigan family for taking a horrific, tragic event and sending a message saying that no other family should have to experience this trauma without some level of support. It's the fundamental concept of the Bexley box that will provide comfort to so many children going through some of the most challenging times in their precious little lives. And it's incredibly important that we at the Florida Sheriff's Association watch this effort grow. It is that narrative that way too often you see people like Sheriff Hardwick and myself and our colleagues get labeled as law enforcement officers, and indeed, enforcing the law is a big component of effective criminal justice. But what we're doing today, and what we spend a considerable amount of time doing, is policing, connecting, and being one with the community to make sure that we can provide comfort and safety and all of those things. I want to thank Sheriff Rob Hardwick again, because he has been a steadfast leader to protect the most vulnerable within our community and uses his strong voice and advocacy to make sure that the quality of life of the citizens, not only here in St. Johns County, is preserved, but across the great state of Florida. And as his comments, we have the best by far Attorney General in the entire country, a man who makes it a personal mission to get out there to each one of the counties. I don't know how he gets any rest, how he finds any time, and just connects the dots, the things that sound like they're going to provide relief and comfort to so many people that are in our communities. And again, we can't do that as government. We can't do that as a nonprofit without the support of organizations just like Walmart. Walmart, the largest employer in the world, is using their political capital, their influence, and buying in on initiatives that absolutely work, not just with the Bexley Box initiative, but time and time again on issues that are so incredibly important to the citizens that we have the privilege to protect and serve. And little Bexley, she, for many, many years, I hope she has a level of pride as she serves as ambassador of putting this message. And then so many little boys and girls for years and years across this country are going to be helped based upon this effort. So Kirsten, thank you so much for using your voice, your advocacy, and thank you, General and Sheriff Hardwick and Walmart, for your unwavering support of these vulnerable citizens.
Good morning. Our story has been shared a little bit, but I'll just recap that in my own words. As was said, in 2022, my husband was murdered just mere feet away from where our daughter Bexley sat strapped in her car seat. Thankfully, a kind person came upon the scene, and they used their own child's blanket to wrap my daughter in and held her until police officers arrived. She was taken to the police station where there weren't that many things to comfort her. There was no dry diaper, there was no sippy cup, there was barely anything to keep her distracted until I could be reunited with her hours later. That's the experience that stayed with me, that sat with me day and night until I came up with the idea to make a difference. Our first Bexley box was built and filled from our own funds and delivered to the Jacksonville Beach Police Department later that same year. And when I shared that story online, it blew up. There were so many other parents being like, why aren't these everywhere? And that made me realize that maybe it's not just the police station that we were at. Maybe this is a widespread need. And so we founded the Brideigan Foundation to spread this mission further. Each of these boxes is named in honor of our daughter Bexley and is filled with necessities like diapers, wipes, sippy cups, snacks, toys, blankets, and so much more. Just simple items that provide such a strong and profound difference for a child in crisis who is away from the comfort of their own home. We know how powerful a blanket can be to a child from our own experience. And I think all of the adults in this room can even admit that a familiar snack or a drink in a time of stress can make a huge difference. And we've learned that law enforcement agencies aren't always equipped, despite their best efforts and desires, to handle these situations as they arise. And that's where we step in. This February is a huge milestone that belongs to everyone who's believed in our mission from the start. Thanks to you, every donor, small and large, every loyal supporter, and even the school children nationwide who have chosen our box as their school project, thank you. We have more than 65 Bexley boxes currently in place today, with a few more pending. And through this partnership with Walmart, made possible by our Attorney General, we will place 120 more Bexley boxes in the next month. This will help us achieve statewide placement in every sheriff's office and municipal law enforcement agency in the state of Florida. We're a small team of volunteers, and we've done our best up until this point with the resources and the heart that we have. And this partnership will push us beyond our comfort zone in the best way possible. We are deeply grateful, a little bit overwhelmed, but just so humbled by this opportunity to help children in the state of Florida. Achieving this in just 3.5 years is a tremendous accomplishment that belongs to all of us, but it's not the end. We need to stay on top of refilling these boxes as they are used to make sure that they are always ready for a child in need. To every officer who has used a Bexley box to comfort a child, to every volunteer who has helped fill one up, and to everyone who has helped contribute to this cause, thank you. You are turning tragedy into compassion one box at a time, and together we will make a difference for children going through the unimaginable. Thank you very much.
And obviously Walmart's doing this for the right reasons and really saving the day here, but they're also bailing me out because I told Kirsten, within my first year in office, which is coming up in a little over a week, we're going to get this done. And a few months ago, I realized, man, I am up a creek without a paddle trying to figure out how to get these boxes in every location. So big help a big thank you from me and all of us to Walmart for saving the day here. So Abby, I'll let you come up.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. First, I want to start by thanking Attorney General James Uthmeier, Sheriff Hardwick, and Sheriff Lima, and the law enforcement officers across Florida. What you do every day to keep people safe, often in incredible, difficult situations, doesn't go unnoticed, and we are genuinely grateful for you and all your service. I also want to recognize Kirsten Brideigan. Kirsten saw something that needed to change and decided to do something about it. Through the Brideigan Foundation and the creation of the Bexley boxes, she found a way to bring comfort and care to children during moments that are traumatic, confusing, and scary. Turning something so personal into something that helps so many others is incredibly powerful. When we learned about the work, our team knew we wanted to support the effort in any way we could. As a parent myself, I can only imagine how overwhelming it would be for a child to experience something like that, and how much I would hope that if my family were ever in that similar situation, there would be someone there to provide comfort and care. At Walmart, our purpose is to help families live better, and we believe that starts with people feeling safe and supported in their communities. When a child experiences trauma, it doesn't take much to make a difference. A blanket, a snack, a toy, small things, but in those moments, they mean everything. Bexley boxes give officers the ability to provide that, comfort, where it's needed most, and we're proud to be a part of making that possible. Our Walmart associates across Florida care deeply about the communities they serve, and we are honored to support the partnership to make sure that no child must go through a difficult moment without compassion, care, and comfort. Thank you for allowing Walmart to be a part of this important work. Thank you.
So with that, we'll end on a happy note. A final thank you to Kirsten for the incredible idea, to our great sheriffs, especially Sheriffs Hardwick and Lima, and to Walmart for all your support. You know, people might not realize how often children are in police stations, whether it's being victims themselves of terrible tragedies and abuses, or being there following a domestic violence call or some other dispute. It happens more than you'd realize. So this was a big step towards taking care of kids and making them feel more welcome and comfortable while they're going through a tough time. So with that, I think we got time for a couple questions, and then we do got to clear this room for lunch here, so just a couple. Yes, sir. Yeah, we are investigating this. We'll have more to announce soon. The question was about the gun registry that the city of Jacksonville was putting together. I think the local state attorney concluded that it was a lower level staff person that didn't know what they were doing. Most everybody here knows that ignorance of the law is not typically a defense. So I do believe what happened was wrong and unlawful. We're taking a hard look at it. We'll have some updates soon. Thanks for the question. We'll have some updates very soon. Yes. Yeah, what I'll say is when you have nurses, healthcare officials that are threatening the livelihood, threatening moms going through delivery, the toughest of times, for partisan political reasons, that is wrong. These people should not have a license. If you're going to make threats saying because somebody's a Republican, I hope they get injured severely during childbirth, that's unacceptable. That person should not be a health care provider. Thank you. One more? Can you say that a little louder? I'm sorry. Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're coordinating very well. Here in Florida, we got a good thing going. We've got the State Board of Immigration Enforcement that was put together in special session about a year ago. It was kind of my last effort before moving on into this job. And we're leading the way. We're enforcing the law. We don't make the law. We enforce the law. We are well coordinated. We've been working well with the federal government. I think our numbers probably are far above any other state in the country, and we'll continue to do that. It's frustrating when you see a lot of people in the media and on the left side, protesting Alligator Alcatraz and crying for the treatment of some of these people. But I've personally worked on numerous cases now where you have child rapists that are here in the country illegally. You have people that have committed some of the most heinous of crimes that should not be here. We have to have a secure country. We have to have sovereignty. I understand that not every immigrant is here looking to do malicious evil, and I get that. And to them I say, you know, the federal government is offering you an opportunity to take the $1,000 and the flight home, come back the legal way, the right way. But to those out here that are trafficking and are engaged in, you know, serious drug dealing and want to commit harm, we're going to continue coming for you with absolutely everything that we've got. And I'll conclude by saying, you know, I've been getting reports from all the sheriffs here, fentanyl's going down. You know, this was the new warfare we were seeing a couple of years ago, and you know, again, the data for 2025 is still coming in, but you see fentanyl dropping in most jurisdictions of the state. I think that can very squarely be tied to shutting down the border. We're seeing less of these large-scale drug trafficking operations going on. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I'll stick around if anybody has some additional questions. But again, big thank you to everybody here. Great news, great day. And let's get these things in all the offices. And then, Kirsten, let's look at some other states and go on a road show. All right, thanks, everybody.